Hello, everybody. This is Sree from BizBuzz, What Matters the Most in Your Business, sponsored by MyWorkbelt. MyWorkbelt is a all-in-one software, uh, particularly catering to service-based small businesses, helping the business owners, removing chaos from their lap and streamlining their business. If you have not looked at it, check it out. Uh, Today we have a great guest, Craig. Craig Andrews is a principal ally at alliesforme.com. They are marketing masters, particularly if you have something to high trust, high ticket items that you are selling. Craig, how are you doing?
Sree, I'm doing wonderfully. It's as always, it's a delight to speak with you. I missed last week.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and that was sad, but hey, that's life. It happens sometimes.
That's partly my challenge. I couldn't jump onto the call, and by then it's too late, anyways. Now we are here. So I want to ask you about, a lot of small businesses. They usually business owner is the one bringing revenue, or most of the sales is done by the business owner in the beginning stages, if at least, right? As they grow to a certain level, business owners will be wearing hundreds of hats, gets drained, and at the same time, they cannot do the sales all by themselves and expect to grow. So they have to bring in extra help in doing the sales in order to scale the company. Now, as a business owner, if they are going to bring a new sales guy, and naturally, these salespeople, they sell their resume to the business owners, which they are good at it, right? However, once they come on board, as a business owner, how do they track a KPI, or what the KPI they should keep it on? How do they measure the performance of the sales people coming in?
Yep. So Sree, there's actually at least two questions buried in that question.
It may be
And
more than two.
yeah. So the first question is if it's moving from founder-led sales to bringing on a sales team, the first question is what's the right type of person to bring on? And a big mistake that a lot of businesses make is they find somebody with sales experience, they have a good track record in sales, they hire them, and they underperform.
They underperform.
And the reason they underperform is they are somebody who is, most of the time, there's somebody who's good at taking a proven sales process in
Hmm.
that business and deploying it. The problem is that first sales hire needs to be somebody who's going to develop the sales process. And
For
the
this company.
yeah, and the owner thinks, what do you mean develop it? I've been doing sales for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever. Just do what I do. And there's a problem
Correct.
with that. The person you hired is not the founder. They don't have that wealth of knowledge in their head that lets them respond on the fly. And so they need to build a sales process. What we like to say is a sales process that anybody can learn.
That is correct.
And if, and I would just say, and I think we've talked about this before, if you have a rock star salesperson, but they can't replicate themselves, you don't have an asset, you have a liability.
You have a liability, yes. They will choke you to death.
Yeah. But then your next question is, what are the metrics? You know what? At the end of the day, the only metrics that matter are outcomes. It's sales.
That's right.
And marketers fall into the same issue. Um, I hear business owners saying, my marketing person's telling me how many impressions we're getting on LinkedIn. And I'm like, okay, how many sales does that make? Well, I don't know, or none. I was talking to somebody the other day who's outsourced his marketing team, and he's like, oh, they do all my social posting. I hate social media. I don't want to have to think about it. And so they do all my social posting. And I asked him, I said, how many sales can you track down to that social posting? And he kind of paused and he thought about it and he's like, none.
Right.
That's the most important metric. What's the outcome? And so
Mhm.
when you have a sales team, there's no more important metric than how many sales did they get?
Correct.
Beyond that, when you start drilling down, you asked me to keep it simple, and this
Mhm.
is simple. Drilling down lower, the metrics below that are mostly are mostly just execution metrics or diagnostic metrics
Right.
for the sales team to figure out. But at the end of the day, how many sales are coming into the sales pipeline and how many sales are made on the other side of the pipeline. When you start digging in, the the next thing would be, okay, if they're doing better than we expected or worse than we expected, what's the thing that changed? And so one of the things that I really push is what we call the 30-second dashboard.
Mhm. Okay.
Everybody, everybody, so like in your business, you should have a 30-second dashboard that you begin your day with.
Hmm.
You come in, you sit down at your desk, you pop up your 30-second dashboard. And if you can't digest that dashboard in less than 30 seconds, you have a bunch of vanity metrics on there that are not helping you run your business.
Should 30-second dashboard showing?
I'm sorry?
What is that 30-second dashboard will be showing?
It depends upon the role. It depends upon the role. So
Mhm.
at the executive level, at the founder CEO level, and I would say at every level, the bottom line is what we call the pipeline report.
Yeah.
And so that's starts all the way back to like touches of your website on one side and money in the bank on the right side. And you divide that up into milestones.
Mhm.
And then you go into your team and you figure out who's responsible for each milestone. And
Correct.
so when you're reviewing that 30-second dashboard, as the executive, that's really the most important thing for you is what's going in, what's coming out. You could have a customer service dashboard, customer service element that's a part of that because that's
Correct.
a leading indicator. The better your customer service is today, the better sales will be tomorrow.
Better sales tomorrow. Yes.
But you really want it to be minimalistic. So when you look at it, you come in the morning, you say, huh, the number of leads have dropped. I need to talk to my marketing guy.
Right.
Or leads are constant or up, but
But
sales have
revenue is
dropped.
drop.
So I need to go talk to the sales guy. So then when you get into, let's say, that sales manager role or that marketing manager role, they have their own 30-second dashboard. And at the top is the pipeline report. And then for them, what's underneath that is the the key indicators that are going to tell them what will happen next in their business.
I mean, naturally,
And
when you are looking at the parameters on 30 seconds dashboard, you have to build up all the activities and all the results of those activities that roll up into that 30 seconds dashboard. As you just said, how many visitors came into the website. Now you can also chisel it up to how many unique visitors came into the website or how many repeat visitors came into the website, right?
yeah,
So from there, you can see how many contact forms filled up or how many phone calls received. That is one side of the KPIs. And the other side is how many outgoing calls have been made by the salespeople. And of the how many outgoing calls, how many people they actually talk to, and then how many appointments they actually set up. That would be another area where the sales side of it, you can have that 30 seconds dashboard. So it doesn't need to be a complicated, in my opinion, as you're saying. It can be as simple as tracking 4 or 5 different activities that lead up to then finally, last but not least, but the most important parameter that you would be tracking is the revenue or closing. So how much is it closed this month and how much is the revenue that is produced this month? that is where your true performance is coming into play. Am I stating it right?
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. And
Right.
so now I'll say this, although the dashboards are simple, making them is hard. So Steve
Correct.
Jobs always said simple is hard.
Yes.
And so what you need to do is sit down and it takes a process. And so what I recommended, remember I said that you should have a what we call the pipeline dashboard.
Mhm.
And you have things coming in on one side, going out on the other side, or you have every milestone. So for every milestone from first touch to money in the bank, you have somebody who owns that milestone. Now, multiple people, one person can own multiple milestones,
Yeah, sure.
but any milestone has to have a single owner.
I mean, to begin with, you can have a one person owning all the milestones. You are the only one doing it. However, having those milestones defined while you are small, one person, two-person sales team will lead it to the growth, will contribute to the growth. And when you grow to 10, 20, 50 salespeople, then the same can be applied to the larger team.
Yep. Now, let's not miss the second point I made. You can only have one owner per milestone.
Correct.
If you have a milestone that has multiple owners, you're set up for failure. You need to have, you need to have a single person that owns each milestone. And so when you sit down and you go through the process, let's assume that you have a team, where in your pipeline you have 3 or 4 different milestone owners.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you do is you sit down and you get agreement that, hey, at this milestone, here's what I need coming in.
Mm-hmm.
When I have this, I'm signing up to deliver this on the output.
Right.
Okay. And then the next person down is like, okay, I agree. That's what, your output agrees with what I'm going to take in. And when you
Mm-hmm.
give me that, here's what I'm going to give on the output. And so that creates accountability for each milestone owner.
Correct.
How they achieve that is up to them.
Correct.
It's up to them. But what happens with so many businesses is they have failed to set up that clear communication and that clear accountability. And I've done this exercise with multiple companies, and what I find is a lot of people don't have clarity on what their milestones are, and they make assumptions about who owns what, and that's a recipe for failure.
That is great. Great. Thank you very much for sharing that wisdom and sharing the concepts. It's very, very powerful. For those who have a small or a one-person sales team, be sure to set up some sort of a dashboard, 30 seconds dashboard. And then when you bring in more additional help into the sales team, that dashboard needed to be, or that each parameter need to be owned by somebody. And that way it can be continuously maintained, and thus it will continuously contribute to the growth of the organization. I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I'm really hoping that we are contributing to your growth and gaining some peaceness in the life by streamlining your life. Great. Thank you very much for joining me today. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you and greatly appreciate your contribution to the small business community.
Thank you, Sree. It's been a delight.